Yo guys, back to the channel. Sony's Xperia flagships are well known for their advanced cameras, no-nonsense design and dedication to doing things in a slightly different, even old-school way. This year's Mark VII model continues the tradition and upgrades it a bit with some tweaks, with a display, audio and new chips in it. And perhaps the most notable change this generation is the new ultra-wide camera, which has a large sensor and promises excellent quality. The Xperia 1 Mark VII is pretty close to the previous model design. The phone is rectangular, and the back is made of Gorilla Glass Victus, which has a rough and drippy texture. The aluminium frame is slightly different from before, but still has a rip texture for some extra design overall. Protection hasn't changed, and the display of the phone is again a 6.5-inch OLED with 120Hz refresh rate, and Gorilla Glass protection. In days past, the Xperia flagships had 4K displays, but in recent times they've switched to a more practical peak. And with this resolution, the display is still plenty sharp and looks good. There's support for 10-bit color depth here and HDR10 video playback as well, but not Dolby Vision. From the 120Hz refresh rate when you're not interacting with it, to save energy, we observed a minimum of 30Hz. Here the Xperia 1 Mark VII is plenty bright, even brighter than last year. When maxed out, with measured up to about 800 nits, with the manual brightness line this can boost to over 1478, also compared to about 1300 on the previous model. When it comes to audio, the experience Mark VII provides is that they're the only flagship still holding a 3.5mm headphone jack. Sony says the headphones experience is powered by Walkman and it features high-end circuitry for even better sound. The phone stereo speakers are again front-facing. The Xperia 1 Mark VII uses a side notification reader rather than a trendy under-display one. It's quite responsive though. And another bit of a nostalgic feature is microSD expandable storage. We just wish that there was more on board, as storage is limited to 256 gig, which is the only option. As for software, you get Android 15 on board, and the Xperia software experience is pretty conservative in terms of notifications. On top of that, one of the more obvious customizations here, their Square, and another Sony exclusive which has been around for a while now is a multi-window switch. It's basically two tasks which is stacked on top 4 used to navigate. And split screen side sense is another Sony feature where a handle on the edge of the screen opens up a menu of shortcuts. You can customize these shortcuts from whatever you choose, including split screen pairs. And there is a gaming interface as well called Game Enhancer, which gives you plenty of gaming options. Either access it with a standalone hub or as an overlay. There is actually not much here in terms of AI-based features, which is surprising for a modern flagship. Of course, as on other Android phones, there is Google Gemini on board, but you won't find a swing of AI features here like you would put in Samsung or most any other video action. Sony claims that there is plenty of AI, but it's used behind the scenes for the camera processing. And for support, Sony promises 4 major OS releases and 6 years of security patches here. As expected for a flagship like the Xperia 1 Mark VII, the chipset is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. In benchmarks, the Mark VII clearly outperforms its predecessor, while the scores are more on the low run of the Spectrum 4. That's not to say that this phone isn't powerful, just that some competitors are more optimized. In addition, the sustained performance here leaves to be desired. The throbbing performance was pretty sharp, with the numbers dipping to about half of PCPU performance within the first 8 minutes. The Xperia 1 Mark VII is powered by a 5000 mAh battery, just like last year, and an active score of 14 hours and 44 minutes in our tests, and don't get me wrong, that's quite good. However, last year's model was one of the best around with a score of about 17.5 hours. Sony hasn't done anything, but the charging speed here is still rated at just 30 watts and the charger doesn't come into the box with Sony's own adapter. We were able to charge the phone from the 0 to 51% in half an hour, and full charged took around an hour and a half. Pretty slow. There is also a support for wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. Finally, we have the cameras, the same and continuous zoom as before, but now there is a new larger sensor. At 50 megapixel, you get a dedicated two-step shutter button for the cameras, which is a bit larger now, and with better tactile for your back user experience. Daylight photos out of the Xperia's main camera looking detailed are excellent overall. Nicely natural rendition and textures and little to no noise. The 2x zoom results from the main cam are very good. In most cases we had a bit more success outdoors, while indoor shots were a little softer. But all things considered, the 2 zoom levels, also at night to produce high contrast images, still managed for a very good dynamic range. It strikes a really nice balance between highlight preservation and shutter. The detail is top class. No signs of over-sharpening, white balance and color saturation are leaving us. No grounds for complaint. Now onto the telephoto cab. Like before, it has continuous zoom. It can go all the way from 3.5 times to 7.1 times zoom, and it is optical all the way. At 3.5 times the camera does well. Overall, the TL and sharpness are okay. There's a bit of noise, particularly indoors, but it's not too bad. Dynamic range is great. With the same contrasting hook is on the main character, and colors are easy to like as well. Shooting people at 3.5 times the results are okay. Panoramic range is nicely wide and the exposures are tailored to your subjects, while the result is perhaps a little too bright. Overall colors are nice, but the detailed subject is a bit disappointing. Gets a little softer around the middle of this human breach at 5 times. The results are still good though, just not exactly a selling point. The sharpness, there is also a macro mode at 5 times zoom which can focus from as close as 4 centimeters. There is no other focus available in this mode, but if you're patient, has the potential to capture some nice looking close-ups when shooting at 7.1 times and maxing out the camera's native zoom. There is even more of a decline in sharpness, but we'd still consider the results quite good. The nighttime zoom shots are right at 3.5 times. The phone captures a good amount of detail. The results aren't that sharp. When you zoom in further, there's a difference in quality and at pixel level. Even at 7.1 times, you will still be getting okay shots, super sharp and detailed. The noise is well controlled, dynamic range is excellent. The color rendition is super too, and at night again the ultra-wide shots are well worthy of praise with some outstanding detail and low noise. The colors and selfies come from a 12 megapixel fixed focus front face. It's very good detail and the colors and skin tones are quite likable. The Xperia 1 Mark VII recording at 4K 120 fps or at 4K 60 fps videos from the main cam are good, but not great. The color presentation and dynamic range are excellent, but there is a general softness which is noticeable across the whole frame. From the telephoto cam again, colors are very good. The sharpness, and when shooting video at night, the main camera does a reasonably good job. The telephoto cam's footage, on the other hand, is quite soft. It isn't competitive against other flagships. Telephotos with their big sensors, the Xperia's ultra-wide, on the other hand, captures a bit better detail than average at night. So the Xperia 1 Mark VII, just like last year, has a lot of nice features, including bare ones like a headphone jack and an expandable storage. The upgrades here are few though, a new chipset and a great new ultra-wide camera, but the battery life is actually shorter this time around, and the speakers are a bit weaker too. At the same time, other manufacturers are bringing plenty of innovations. So for the hefty price, if you're not a Sony or a 3.5mm jack loyal, well, take a look around before you take the leap. Guys, thanks if you watched it here. Please consider subscribing as it counts free for you and encourages my research to bring you more videos like this, and feel free to like and share. Until the next one, take care of yourselves and each other, and let me know if you tempted for the Sony or not. See ya.